continue with the sixth key. And in this particular instance, we're continuing to explore the book of Genesis because that's what he suggested. If you look at Genesis, the different phases, the different time frames and everything, there's more to it. And that's what he's telling us. There's more to it. Remember what was said earlier about realism. It only captures the surface. And that's what we're doing. And since I neglected to read the passage, I included it this time. And this will be a short section. And this is the third day. God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. Do you know what's happening here? Do you know what's happening here?
Wow, it would be like earthquakes and plates are moving and all of that kind of stuff.
If the water is being separated or being moved so dry land can appear, we've got this egg, because that's what the earth is shaped like, is an egg. So we've got this egg that's being changed, altered, and it's always in twos, always in twos. So what's happening here, this is under the heavens. Remember, our last exploration in here, there was the firmament. The firmament was created. The heavens was created. The waters were divided. And we got the heavens up here. We've got a different dimension, a different realm. And now we're putzing with what's beneath that, because it clearly states, under the heaven, be gathered together to one place. Obviously, he didn't have a map of the planet, because how many continents are there? There's 7, unless, of course, we include continental drift. And then, yeah, we've got just the one landmass. Ever notice when you're looking at that map of the globe, how some of these shapes, they're kind of mimicked over here on the other side? It's almost as though they could fit together. All kinds of theories in this. And movies, they got all kinds of movies with this too. One of the movies, I think they presented the idea of the surface of the planet being not connected, and that the center of the planet was independent, and it would shift, crustal shift, I think is what they call the theory, where the whole surface just moves. But we're looking at this dry land, one island being there. And God called the dry land earth, and gathering together the waters called them seas. And God saw that it was good. So we've got land, and we've got seas. What are the 2 main principles in nature?
Receptive and active.
Okay, receptive and active. So one of these things here is receptive, and the other one is active. One of them is male, the other one is female. Which is which? Anybody?
I would say the seas was female and the land was.
Okay, sounds good. Why?
I'm not sure why. That's what it seemed like to me. It seemed like that was right.
I thought that at first as well, and then I thought the sea can act upon the land, but the land can't act upon the sea in our dimension.
And everything on the land flows to the city.
True. True. But it's water.
Yeah. Well, fluid, anything that's fluid flows. Anything that's fluid, where does lava flow? Everything that is of a liquid nature seeks its own level. If it's down beneath, it rises. If it's up above, it falls. So we've gone from this egg that's presumably all water, fluid. We have this everything that's just gathered together. That would be an interesting movie. How would he gather all this stuff together? But we have the water. And the water has to be parted. It has to be gathered into one place in order for the land to appear. So what does that tell us about water? First, what does that tell us about the whole? What about the whole? We talked about this last time, about the whole. We've got male and female, then the whole has to be what?
I'd say neutral.
Neutral?
I mean, one cancels, not say cancels the other, but one balances the other.
Yeah, but that's actually false.
Talk about the harmony.
Harmony, yes. And what does harmony require? What does harmony do?
Flows
And it,
back and forth,
uh-huh,
resonates,
okay.
both positive and negative.
There you go, positive and negative. Male and female, water is male and female. When they talk about the waters, you don't know which one they're talking about until they actually tell you. Because what is it that the female has that's water? The amniotic fluids, exactly. What is it that the male has that's water? That the female needs in order to bring forth.
The sperm,
Exactly, which is
the
again,
seminal fluid.
exactly. So water is
Oh, I remember
both.
my science. My health classes.
So water is both. It's male and female. Which makes the land what?
There have to be male and female too.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Is that what you were thinking, Sandy?
Well, I guess then what you're saying is that the land is the receptive and the water is the active, or wait a minute, because you were that they both have to come together. So I think Sharon had said before that she thought that the sea, I think, was receptive. So you're saying it was the opposite, right?
He's saying it's both.
Oh, it's both. Oh, okay. Okay.
Elements are both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually both. And when it's both, what do we get? No, on the surface, it's mud. But it's moisture. Everything is moist.
Okay.
This is the Hermetic principle of polarity. And I know this was mentioned some time ago because I happened to be editing the video just the other day. So the water always has the land in it. And the land always has water in it. So they're actually both. What makes things male and female, or active and receptive, is whatever property happens to be dominant at the time. And when both are dominant at the same time, then we have the dry land called earth, and the gathering of the together of the waters called the seas. That's the balance. That's the balance, is that. So what are your thoughts so far? Any thoughts, Ray?
No.
Any thoughts, Beth?
Yeah, I wanted to know where, if this was water and it parted for land, where did the extra water go?
It was gathered
Gathered where? In another dimension?
to one place.
Okay.
That's all it says, is it was gathered.
I think we're talking different dimensions here.
We very well could be.
I think they're talking about the third dimension being formed, which is the only one I understand.
We very well could be. Nothing is as it seems. That is the first rule of investigating anything, is that it's not what it appears to be. Spiritualism demonstrates the communication between souls to demonstrate the continuity of life. But if we were to go by what we see, it's just some idiot standing up there on a soapbox who thinks he knows something. But when we look beneath the surface, when we investigate, see, this is why spiritualism is also a science, because it investigates. It's got nothing to do with categorizing. Categorizing just puts things in a type of order. But science, what does science do? Science investigates. That's what it does. It investigates to determine how something occurs. So the first thing you do is you look beneath the surface. When you want to know how something works, what do?
Take it apart.
Take it apart. You go online, you look for the manual, you get the directions. That's the first order of business, is you take it apart. You look beneath the surface. And that's what we're doing with this. We've got the waters beneath the heaven. So we know we're not talking about this realm. And we're not entirely sure we're talking about this realm. We could be talking about a different realm altogether. But we don't know. We still have a few days to go. This is only the third day. So what are your thoughts, Sandy?
Well, the thought occurred to me, we're just infants in the process. We really are, we think we know everything and we probably don't know anything. I mean, I say that as a a cultural we, or a societal we, not individual we, but but that's where that's okay, because that's where a person is. You, like you said, water seeks its own level. And I mean, I take that to be that we all seek our own level of understanding. So that, never being really good at science, although this is, I mean, what you've been saying has is easier to understand, but um, I guess I don't know. Saying that it could be a completely different realm altogether, I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a really interesting concept. And maybe not as limiting as our own perception.
Very good. Very good. We have to try not to limit our perception or our understanding. And I'm watching a video, and this thought comes to me. Oh yeah, this thought about Mosaic law. And what is it that we say about Mosaic law? An eye for an eye, right? You kill somebody, well, now you have to die. And then it dawns on me, wait a second, this whole idea of eye for an eye, this is a misinterpretation. And what is it a misinterpretation of? The whole concept of the golden rule. If you hurt someone else, you're hurting yourself. That's deep. And there are people on the surface are going to say, what do you mean I'm hurting myself? How do I hurt myself? I just slapped them. I didn't slap myself. What are you talking about? But if you take that and you just lay it out on the surface, well, if you cut somebody else's finger off, then somebody's going to cut your finger off. And that's not what that whole thing is about. It's a misinterpretation. And, it's like, wow, yeah. Why didn't I think of this before? Man, boy, Philip, you don't know anything, do you? Well, I know enough to be dangerous. That's got to count for something. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. Does all of this suggest?
Life on some level.
Life on some level, yes. What is it about plants? Do you remember what they represent, what they suggest? What is it that they do? Multiply. Oh man, they're breeding like grass. Grass. What season is this?
Almost winter.
Oh,
Sorry.
Almost winter. What happens to the plants?
They sleep,
They sleep. They appear to do what?
become dormant. They appear to die.
Exactly, they appear to die. Only to do what? A few weeks later.
reborn.
Reborn. So what's the first thing that's created? Regeneration. Renewal. That's a bizarre place to start, isn't it?
I guess that had to be here before people were, though.
That's right.
I mean, it's in the right order, right? You gotta have food.
Doesn't make sense, but yeah, renewal. That's where you want to start. When we want to accomplish something, where do we start in the planning process?
The seed,
Okay.
you prepare the ground.
Prepare the ground, you dig a hole. All right, but what do you do first? How do you know to dig a hole?
Yeah. An idea.
You have an idea. Okay. And what's the idea? When you have an idea, how do you see it?
You can see it's finished.
You see it finished. Yes. And what do you do once you see it finished?
Well, then you have to have a plan to get from unfinished to finished.
So you start with the finished product and work your way back to see what the steps are, right? So the finished product here is renewal. How interesting. And the earth brought forth grass and herbs, yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good. This was the third day. So does anybody have any comments? How about you, Beth? I see that smirk on your face. I know it's got something to do with something. It's probably totally unrelated.
Yeah, of course it is.
But we're gonna hear it anyway because it is related. Everything's related. You ever notice that? Everything is related to everything else. How is that possible? Well, we're seeing it laid out before us. First, we have to be motivated. That's the Spirit moving across the water. Then we have to give it some thought. That's the heavens created. And then we see what we want. That's the renewal. So we know where we're going from here. And what are your thoughts, Beth?
Well, I keep, the picture in my head is seeing roots.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already underground. So I'm watching these roots grow and spread, sink down, 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 down. And then the other part of me is saying, yeah, but what's below the surface? Well, here I am below the surface. But what does that mean? That's the realism. I'm seeing the realism in my head. But what is below the realism? I sunk myself below the earth, but I'm still seeing the realism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing what's beyond the realism.
Okay. So how do you see what's being beyond the realism? What's preventing you from doing that?
Obviously, I have a wall up or a lack of imagination. I don't think I have a lack of imagination.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What do roots do?
They seek nourishment.
There you go. There you go. Plants start their growth where?
In the dark.
In the dark. Where?
Underground.
Underground. Not on the surface. Underground.
Unless it's like a little air fern. Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, there's always an opposite,
And a
right?
moss.
There's always an opposite.
And a moss.
Right. But most of the time.
So before you work your way backwards from your goal, you have to understand the goal. And the only way you do that is to explore or to gather nourishment. How do you nourish an idea? No, that didn't come out right. How do you explore an idea? You nourish it. You baby it. You feed it until it becomes something. And when it becomes something, then you can do something about it. But what's happening here is we've got the finished product. So we know now that our entire purpose for being here is to continue. That's obvious. Yes, no, maybe. What do you think, Sharon?
You mean because because this third day.
No, I mean, what do you think?
Well, and when you were saying that we're here to continue,
Yeah. Okay.
and I just was wondering if you meant that because of what happened on this third day, because of nature starting and and all of that.
Can be.
Of course, because if we're here to continue and we're not on the physical plane, then we don't need any of that.
Ah, I like that. Not on the physical plane.
If we're not physically here on the earth, then we need nourishment, but not that kind of nourishment, not the physical nourishment.
Very good.
Okay, that's,
Very good. You brought something to mind with that. And I was reading this just the other day. This is from P.M.H. Atwater's Future Memory. And I'm reading this, and she throws out this idea here that just, whoa! Crystallized light.
not a clue.
What comes to mind with that? Crystallized light.
Fragmented light? I have no idea.
An icicle made of light.
An
What I
icicle
see.
made of light. Okay. Crystallized light.
A diamond?
No.
Oh,
Our brain, our mind,
Us.
our physical.
Yes, us.
I would call it carbonized.
Okay, carbonized. Hard surface, right? Crystallized light. That was the idea she proposed in there. They can't prove it yet. And they were playing with that. I think that book was put out in the early 2000s. But crystallized light, that just blew me away. Because when I take this idea of crystallized light, and I take this idea of the universe being nothing but light and interference patterns, as suggested by Francisco de Basi, I think, then everything just starts to look different. How do you destroy light?
I don't think you can.
Well, sure you can.
Not me.
Sure you can. The only way to destroy light is to turn off the light switch.
It's not destroying it.
Exactly. Exactly. But on the surface, that destroys the light. But when you go deeper, the light is still there. It's always been there. Where do they get these concepts? These ancient writings, where do they get these concepts? God is described as nothing but a ball of fire. Where do they get that? And then the idea came to the surface thousands of years ago. And here I am just the other week reading in a book, Crystallized Light. How did they know that? Mind-blowing, isn't it? Boy, if we got it wrong. So let's see. I got your thoughts, Sharon. So I guess it's Sandy's turn. What are your thoughts, Sandy?
Well, just thinking of a general answer to the question, I guess the enlightenment is where do people get these thoughts? And I would have to say it's one's level of enlightenment. And since we're not all on a level playing field, there are people who are attracted and understand this completely. And those are the people that write those books.
That's a good explanation. That works.
And I like that. I mean, I like that because then they enlighten others who may have been on the, edge of this concept, but not really understanding it. So, it's great. And I guess one thing that I go back to is in our own lives and our own upbringings, we are, just sent down this simple path of understanding, and it's so simple, and that's all there is. That's all there is, and we, probably most of us were started out that way. And it's fascinating to find that that's just the tip. I mean, that is just so fundamental, I guess, in human experience. But it's fascinating to know that there's more, so much more that we can't even begin to understand. But I don't know. That's why I like these people who write these books, because it just expresses a whole different explanation and viewpoint, and makes us think. We're not complacent. It makes us think, and that's the key. When we stop thinking, and we're in a bad place, when we stop, and I don't know if analyzing is the right word, but expanding our understanding. When we stop doing that, we're in a bad place.
Yeah, there's so much to explore.
Yes.
So much to explore. Wow. This is our playing field. And our biggest problem is we take ourselves too seriously. Oh, no, I got it wrong. Well, it's good that you got it wrong, because now you got it right. How about you, Ray? What are your thoughts?
I really don't have any. Sorry to say, I don't have any.
No thoughts, huh? Okay. Does all this make sense to you?
I'm not sure on that either. I really don't have a comment.
So much for no thoughts.
Yeah.
He's still collating, I think is the term. Oh, well, good. Then I can assume this gives you more food to work with.
My plate runneth over.
Well, that's good. So I have here that at this time the earth began to bring forth life. But we're not sure if it is the earth. They called it the earth. But we're not sure if it really is the earth. So we're going to assume. And life began with plants, vegetables, and fruit. Life which is renewed each season. So we begin with the renewal of life, which sends this huge message that there is no death. I think it was no, I could be wrong on that, so I'm not going to propose a potential author. But I'm sure I read it somewhere. And that would be that we created death. And we have it right here. There is no death. there is only renewal. Thus ends the third day. I want to thank you all for allowing me to share that with you.